Admittedly, I'm a little bit late to the draw on this one, but a couple of weeks ago, Hiya Toys put out the official solicitation information for a figure that all of us knew was coming, and I think we were only surprised by how long it took to officially reveal, and that is the Frostbite Blast version of their exquisite basic Shimo figure. Now here she is in all of her goodness. She's featuring what appears to be the translucent spines that we saw on the recent event-exclusive Stylist figure, so that's like more of the statue release. I know Harold over at Figure Mania Show was like, I know they're gonna do it, I know they're gonna do it, and in fact that is what they're doing. So in addition to this more translucent bluish color, she does have the whited out eyes. I guess, you know, that's part of her charging up sequence from the film, showing her all powered up. Background appears to be reminiscent of like the Rio battle. But here she is. I mean, this is Shimo. Like, I think at this point, well, I don't want to say that, because I guess this figure still does have a little bit of a ways to go before it's like fully distributed in the United States. Because in the comments, you know, I'm seeing people saying, hey, I just got the original one and now they solicited this version. So here she is. Now, I think that what a lot of people were hoping for, myself included, is that whenever we did get around to seeing a new Shimo, that she would be a little bit larger. I think the scaling for the GXK line from Hiya is a little bit inconsistent. I'm hoping that they get around to doing something in Exquisite Basic Plus for Shimo in a larger scale, or maybe even that Exquisite Mega line that they seem to be, you know, they seem to have on the website, but they haven't really talked about just yet. So here she is. She does in fact appear to be an exact reuse of the initial sculpt, although there is going to be some new tooling in the head to allow for her beam. So here is the beam. Now, the middle section does look a lot like their legendary MonsterVerse Godzilla beams. Toward the end, it becomes more frozen, more icicle-like, and the port toward the base of it is going to be a lot larger to fit into Shimo's head, because Shimo's head is much larger than Godzilla's head. But the beam is a little bit too familiar for my liking. I do wish that they did something different. I know they did a different beam for Godzilla Evolved's Heat Ray version, so I do wish that they had a different looking beam. Other than that, I do like this shot of Shimo in her Frostbite Blast form. I don't really think that this is a definitive Shimo. I do like how the standard version looks. I like how the purple looks, but having a powered up Shimo, you know, ready to attack, ready to use her blast, I do like how this looks. Now, when this was solicited, it came in at $79.99 US, and then with the tariffs, $95 US. $79.99 or $80. We're gonna go with the $80. It just makes the whole topic of this video simpler. $80 comes in at $20 more than the initial Shimo figure, which was solicited, I think, March or April of last year, $60. Clearly, like, this is not a $20 beam effect piece, right? Like, that doesn't make any sense. My sort of tinfoil hat theory is that the original Shimo ended up costing Hiya Toys much more than they thought she would, right? Like, that thing is $60. When you have Shimo in hand, it feels much more substantial than a $60 figure. I like to think that this Frostbite Blast Shimo better reflects what it actually costs to make her, and that Hiya Toys was just too far along into the pre-order phase to update the price for that first one. The idea that the first one is only $9 more than like their Godzilla Evolved or their Kong figures, like, something is definitely not right there. So that's what I choose to believe. Again, I have no basis for it, so this is just my crackpot theory. But I do think that the $80 price tag better reflects what it actually costs to produce a figure of Shimo's size, of Shimo's complexity, because she has articulation all over the place. And every time you add articulation, you're adding assembly costs, right? So that's what I think. Even in the comments here, and personal conversations I've had with folks, and even in my community, we're seeing this comparison to SH Monster Arts. Changes like this deliberately done gradually, so we won't notice it until it's like Monster Arts. Like the fact that it's $20 more than the original one. You know, comment down here, looks amazing, but I won't be buying. Looks like Hiya is just another SH Monster Arts. Oh great, I bet that Shimo with the Frostbite Blast accessory is pretty expensive. Like, all this commentary on Hiya raising the price on Shimo. And the idea that, you know, it I guess that it shouldn't be an $80 figure. That feels like the implication in comments being made like these. Now, these comments are not, widespread, but there's enough of them out there, and enough that people have been making the comment to me, that it just felt like I think that we need to talk this through a little bit more, because $80 for a figure like Shimo, I think, is still a really good deal in today's day and age. Like, a really, really good deal. To really talk this through a little bit, I want to bring you over to Michael's page over here, right? Every time I need information on Monster Arts, Michael's page is just so good. So I'd like you to direct your attention to the last figure that we got that was below $80, right? $79.99 or less. It's none of these guys, right? Like, these guys are being brought over to the US at 110 bucks. The last time we got a figure from SH Monster Arts less than $80, it turns out it's these guys. Kong 2024 coming in at $75, and then Godzilla 2024 coming in at $75. That's the last time. All these guys, these are all much more than $80. Well, not much more, but they're higher than 80 bucks. Okay, so this was last year, right? This was the last one we got under $80. When was the last time before that? As it turns out, it's this guy, right? A previous recolor, $75 US when this guy was brought over at the Tamashii Nation store. And also, keep in mind here, I'm talking about like full-size figures. Like, obviously, if you go to something like Singular Point Rodan, like, yes, this was a less expensive figure, but he was also much smaller. Okay, so 2023, that initial price, $75 US. What about before that? When's the last, like, what figure before that? It wasn't the Kong event exclusive. He was 90 bucks. Well, the time before that was Kong and Godzilla 2021. These were the next ones back to be less than $80. All of these are still $80 or more. So in a direct dollar for dollar comparison, these are all more expensive than Hiya's Frostbite Blast Shimo. Now, what about before these guys? What about before? Well, it's not these. These were priced higher than $80, and these are just recolors again. Well, you're looking at the very first Godzilla 2019 figure, $70 US back in 2019. This is the last time we got a Monster Arts figure under $80. Now, obviously, this is being dominated by the legendary Monsterverse figures. When's the last Toho figure to be under $80? Well, for that, we go here. The poster version of the Godzilla 1995 mold. So this was $75 US in 2017. This was over 8 years ago at this point. Over 8 years ago is the last time we got a full-sized SH Monster Arts figure under $80. Since then, everything's been more expensive. And when you compare this to Hiya Shimo, like, Shimo is a much larger figure than this Godzilla figure. Partially due to scale, right? Because Shimo is in the 7-inch scale and Godzilla's in the 6-inch scale. But also Shimo's a much larger character in general. Like, if you compare the 7-inch scale Hiya Shimo to the 7-inch scale 91 Hokkaido Godzilla, Shimo is still much bigger than that figure. Okay, here's the thing though. The plot thickens even more, because $75 US in 2017 is worth a lot more than $80 in today's money, right? So if we go over to the US inflation calculator, 2017, $75 is worth $100 today. We can't even say that Shimo is of comparable value to this Godzilla, because this Godzilla, in terms of cost, adjusted for inflation, costs more than Shimo. Costs more than Shimo. More than the $80 that Shimo is being asked for or charged for today. So then the question becomes, okay, how far back do you actually have to go before you find something that is comparable to Shimo's value? I've looked, and it turns out you have to go all the way back to Godzilla Jr. in 2012 or 2013 to find something that is of comparable value to Shimo, the Frostbite Blast Shimo. Godzilla Jr.'s price of $51 back in 2012. You adjust it for inflation, it's worth $72 today. This is the most recent Monster Arts figure to be of a similar value to the Frostbite Blast Shimo figure. I wish I had my copy of this Godzilla Jr. figure to show just how small he is compared to the Hiya sculpt of Shimo. The difference is huge. So all of that is to say that while, yes, unfortunately Shimo does cost more than her initial sculpt, The value of 80 US dollars is well worth it, in my opinion. Now, if you don't like how this looks, you don't care for the... Like, obviously, if you have no attachment to this character or this depiction of the character, it's not going to be worth $80 to you. But, like, just for somebody who's looking for a kaiju action figure, 80 US dollars for this is pretty good. And the comments of like, oh, Hiya's becoming Monster Arts, deeply unfounded. The fact that you have to go back to 2012 to find something of comparable value to this, yeah, I think that this pretty definitively ends the discussion right there. So I just wanted to cover that real quick because I was seeing these comments come up, and again, as we were discussing on stream last night, we have it really good right now in the collecting hobby. You know, despite the fact that prices are going up, the fact that tariffs are still a thing in the United States and that other countries have to feel it, we do have it pretty good. So yes, if Hiya does have to start increasing their prices, I'm not surprised by that, but they're still offering a really good product for the price. And Shimo especially is going to be like a top 10 figure of the year, like bar none, right? It's a great figure. So if you haven't picked up Hiya Shimo just yet, I'll include some affiliate links in the description where you can pick up the Frostbite Blast version of Shimo if you'd like to support the channel. But until then, guys, that's it for now. Let me know what you think about Frostbite Blast Shimo or the comparisons to SH Monster Arts, and I will talk to you guys again soon. See ya!